Blackhawks win in Raleigh. What a game this was. We've been subject to a lot of snoozers over the past 2 weeks. The quality of hockey hasn't been great here in the last little bit here, but Frank Nazar jumps back in the lineup, and apparently that's all the spark that the Blackhawks needed, because they played a great and most importantly for us, entertaining hockey game tonight. They get a 4-3 win in a shootout versus the Hurricanes. Now, the first period and really the first two periods were more or less controlled by Carolina. The first period especially wasn't, I didn't think it was like terrible or quite as bad as the numbers said. I think by the numbers that Carolina really dominated the first two periods in all the statistical categories of like shots on goal, scoring chances. But to be honest, I didn't think it was terrible for the Blackhawks. They kind of held their own. They actually got on the board first. It was Ilya Mikheyev with a signature shorthanded deflection in the D zone. He deflected a puck, went up in on a 2-on-1 rush. He shot it. It was saved by Anderson, but he got the rebound, put it in, and the Blackhawks led 1-0 at that point. It was Mikheyev's 9th goal of the season, and he just showcased how he, in my opinion, is the best penalty killer in the league there, and he did throughout the night. He had a few more deflections throughout this game. The Blackhawks penalty kill now ranks number 1 in the league after killing off all 5 Carolina power plays in this game, so it was a fantastic showing from what we can now call the best penalty kill in the league, and Ilya Mikheyev being the best penalty killer on the best penalty kill. I think it says a lot about just how good of a defensive player he is. So he got the Blackhawks on the board first, but then Carolina tied it before the period ended. It was 1-1 heading into the second, but then the Blackhawks scored again. It was Nick Lardis after Oliver Moore really set up the whole play. He sped in wide, wheeled in wide, cut and kind of had like a spinning pass from the corner to Donato. Donato slid it over to Lardis, who finished in front of the net. That was Lardis' 5th goal of the season. That made it 2-1 Blackhawks. That was a really nice play. Really, all 3 of the Blackhawks goals scored in regulation. I mean, all 4, I guess. All the times the Blackhawks put the puck in the net tonight, because there were a few times in the shootout as well. It was really pretty. Like, these were really nice goals that the Hawks were scoring. The Lardis one was great. The Mikheyev one was great. I'll talk about the other ones later here. Carolina bounced right back after that Lardis goal with a goal of their own. On this play, it was a bad pinch by Artem Levshinov. He didn't have a great game in this one. He played only 16 and a half minutes in this game, and that I don't have the number right in front of me in terms of his kind of game log of ice time, but I'm just going out on a limb and saying that's probably his lowest in the past month or so. It was not a great game. He just wasn't really going tonight, wasn't really making great decisions. It's understandable. It's a tough environment in Carolina, and you're playing one of the top teams in the league. He's not quite at the point where he's handling that fully smoothly, and that's completely understandable. As a 20-year-old defenseman, these are just some of the growing pains that we'll have to work through, and in this play in particular, it was a bad pinch from him. It led to a Carolina goal on a 2-on-1 down on the other end. Stahl came in and ripped a shot that beat Knight. It was Bedard that was defending the 2-on-1, so obviously not a great situation there, but it was 2-2 at that point. Later in the second period, probably one of the lowlights of the game, Oliver Moore drops the gloves with Alexander Nikishin after Nikishin laid a big hit on Nick Lardis. Now, Nikishin's like 6'3", 200 pounds. Oliver Moore's 5'11", so he got beat up pretty decently. He got dropped to the ice pretty quickly. He had to actually go back to the locker room to get repairs. He had a cut on his face. I posted that clip over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus, and Twitter actually kind of labeled it as graphic content, because Moore was in a kind of rough shape after the fight. But big shout out to him for actually dropping the gloves with Nikishin. He said after the game that, actually I have the quote here, he's a big boy and Russian. Actually talked to him a little bit. He said it was his first fight. I can't buy that. That was a pretty fun moment to see Moore sticking up for Lardis. It wasn't like a terrible hit or anything, but just Moore jumping in there versus a big Nikishin. He did get beat up pretty decently, but hey, we'll have some guys come. We got some guys in the system like Sasha Boisvert, I think that's actually how it's pronounced, and then AJ Spellacy. So we got guys that can come in and will step up once in maybe a year or so down the line, so it's not going to have to be Moore, going up against big defensemen. But it was a great night for Moore. that, I don't know if you can consider that a low light or a highlight, but either way, it contributed to his Gordie Howe hat trick in this game. At least I'm going to call it a Gordie Howe hat trick because he scored the shootout winner later on. This game was kind of physical, a little bit chippy. Frank Nazar got hit pretty good in the third period by Andrei Svechnikov, and they were kind of chirping on the bench. Nazar was, I saw it right after the hit, he was still kind of talking with Svechnikov, but then late in the third period, about 6 minutes left, Connor Murphy, he makes a great read. He had open space on the far side in the offensive zone. Play was all the way on the right side. Murphy was for some reason on the left side, but he was on the left side. He crept in, no one followed him, so he got and found some open space in front of the net, got the puck, and showed off the hands. I didn't know he had that in his bag. He deked out Anderson and finished in a tight space. I did not know that was in his bag, but we're going to be showing that highlight to any other team that's coming to ask to try to trade for Murphy here at this trade deadline. We're showing that, you're saying a second, no, we're going to need a first round pick. I'm just kidding, but that was a highlight reel goal for Connor Murphy. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes scored right after that goal, so you couldn't really enjoy it too much, but that was a great goal. All three of the Blackhawks goals in regulation in this game were super, super pretty, and that one from Murphy was as well, but that things ended up pushing to an overtime. Blackhawks, I actually thought they controlled overtime. They haven't been great. A lot of times the other team just gets possession and they hold possession for pretty much the whole game, and now the Hurricanes did have one great chance on Spencer Knight, or maybe even two on Knight in the overtime, but the Blackhawks actually controlled possession for a majority of the game. Kaiser had a toe drag into a shot for one chance. Oliver Moore had a breakaway, a chance to win the game. He did end up winning it, thankfully, in the shootout, but he had a breakaway in overtime to win it. He got stuffed by Anderson, but both goalies played well in that overtime period, and both goalies played well in the shootout as well. Now, Bedard scored for the Blackhawks. He had a 5-hole rip. Svechnikov scored for Carolina, but out of 6 attempts, Svechnikov was the only Hurricane to score. Spencer Knight was fantastic in the shootout. Oliver Moore ended up winning it in the 6th round, and the Blackhawks come home with a 4-3 win. Super, super entertaining game. If you didn't happen to catch this one on ESPN+, I have a bunch of clips from the game over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus, so you can catch up on anything you didn't see. This was one of the more fun games to clip. Just so much action in this one, and Blackhawks get the win too, which makes it even better. Want to go over a few things on the box score. This was one of the more interesting box scores of the season. Just before actually we get to the player box score here, just some stats from the game. The Hurricanes led the Blackhawks 31-22 in shots on goal. They also won 65% of faceoffs in this game, so they dominated in the circle. A large reason they did outchance the Blackhawks, even though I don't have the numbers up on right on here, but I can just go out on a limb and say they outchanced the Blackhawks in this game, and winning 65% of draws certainly helps in that. Now, Moore won 6 of 13. He's been pretty good in the dot ever since he's moved to center. He held his own again tonight. Nazar won 6 of 9 faceoffs, so that was a great sign. He had a big faceoff win in overtime as well to start the overtime. That led to the Blackhawks getting possession for most of that extra period. Foligno lost all 8 draws he took, so that's probably part of the reason the numbers skewed. Green didn't have a great night either in the dot, though in fairness to him, he was going up against Jordan Staal for a majority of this game, so that's a tough matchup. The big number, the reason the Blackhawks were able to win this game is because the Hurricanes went 0 for 5 on the power play. The Blackhawks penalty kill was just fantastic. They leapfrogged the Colorado Avalanche and now have the best penalty kill in the NHL after this game. The Hawks only got 1 power play attempt for themselves in this one, and they didn't score on it, but winning the special teams battle still in this one was huge for the Hawks. Now, individual-wise, I mentioned Levchinov probably played his lowest ice time in the past handful of games, only 16.5 minutes, but Louis Crevier played a career high in ice time, had 22 minutes and 21 seconds in this game, 33 shifts. He had 4 blocks, 5 hits, and a shot on goal in this game, so it was a great game for Crevier. His partner, Alex Vlasic, played upwards of 25.5 minutes in this game. He was getting overtime shifts. He was getting shifts in pretty much all situations. So obviously when the Blackhawks went to the penalty kill 5 times in this game, your penalty killer is going to get a little bit extra ice time, and that was the case for Vlasic. And then you add on, he got an OT shift, so definitely one of the larger workloads for Vlasic in this game. But he also, I thought, had a really nice game. He did, however, take his first stick infraction penalty of the season. It was a tripping penalty penalty, I think in the second or third period, but either way, it was his first like stick infraction. He had like I think 2 interference calls earlier this season, but in a fight. But outside of that, no other penalties for Vlasic, so that's just super impressive to have the discipline that he has, especially considering how effective he is playing defense with his stick. He has a great stick. He showed it multiple times in this game, had a few great kind of like highlight reel poke checks. I know you're not really getting a poke check on the highlight reel, but if you were, Vlasic would be on there because he had a fantastic defensive game in this one. Big game for him. Even Kaiser, Murphy both played upwards of 22 minutes. I thought this was one of the best Murphy games we've seen in a long time. I mean, he's had a few good games this season, but this showing was really, really impressive. Even outside of that great goal he scored in the third period, he had a few again, I don't want to say highlight reel for defensive plays because they're not actually going to be on the highlight reel, but he had some great blocks in this game, a few good poke checks as well. He played really, really solid defensively. On the offensive end, Mikheyev had 2 points, played over 18 minutes in this game. Frank Nazar, in his return, played 18.5 minutes, had 4 shots on goal. Bedard played over 20 minutes, had 3 shots in this game. Now, a little bit unrelated to this game specifically, but Jesperi Kotkaniemi, under 10 minutes of ice time. This guy's locked up for, 4 or 5 more years. Not looking like a great contract, even though I thought he's maybe a decent player, but man, he's not getting the ice time or the trust from Carolina's head coach, Rob Brind'Amour. He did pick up an assist, had 2 shots on goal, 3 hits in that ice time, so I guess he had a decent game, but that's a little bit unrelated. To go through a few of the takeaways over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus. First one here says Oliver Moore once again is the best forward on the ice and has been since the calendar flipped to 2026. I can't say you're wrong there. I mean, he looks just so much better playing at center. He's just able to utilize all his speed and skill a lot more playing at that position. And yet tonight obviously was a highlight night for him on his 21st birthday. Had the fight, the assist. It was a really nice assist he picked up, and then the shootout winner. So a huge game for him, and I've talked about it the past few games. Just I really liked how he's been playing ever since he's moved to center, and especially if he can be good in the face-off circle. This team is miles ahead of last year. It's crazy. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was looking back. I saw Alec Martinez was popping up on my Twitter for you. He's doing some cool little highlight or breakdown, some goal breakdowns or whatever, which is cool. But it's kind of funny. We were watching him run the second unit power play last season, and now he's on Twitter doing breakdown videos. But so shout out to Alec Martinez. But yeah, I mean, not to just signal out on him. There were a lot. Just everybody really has. All the young guys have improved from last season, and then some of the veterans have kind of moved off like Pat Maroon and etc. But yeah, just in general, this team so much better than last year, and you can see it. They're winning games against some of the top teams in the league. We've seen it this season. Colorado, they played a 1-0 game in that one. They beat Dallas twice. Now they beat Carolina. They beat Tampa Bay. Now I know Tampa Bay was struggling earlier in the season. We'll see Tampa Bay tomorrow night, so I guess we'll get a better test when Tampa Bay's actually rolling. We'll see how the Hawks can compete with them, but they did beat them earlier in the season. So they beat some of the top teams in the league this season and played really, really good games against them. That wasn't really the case last year. Nazar looked good in his first game back. Yeah, I would agree. I thought he had a few quality chances. Obviously, he's going to take a few more games here to get back kind of in game shape, get back into the game flow. He just returned to practice like a week ago or so. I think he only had 2 full practices under his belt before returning tonight. So it's going to take a few games for him to get back into the swing of things. But I thought he generated a few things in this game, had a few chances. So that's a good sign. That's going to do it for this game. Great win in Raleigh. Now the Blackhawks will have to travel back to Chicago to take on Tampa Bay tomorrow night. So it's going to be another tough test tomorrow, but they did beat Tampa earlier in the season. So we'll see if they can get the season sweep coming off a big win tonight. So yeah, next video from me will be tomorrow, and I'll see you then.